Okay, so you've probably seen the headlines. Gold prices are through the roof. But honestly, that's not the real story. The real story is a quiet, massive migration that's happening behind the scenes. The world's wealthiest aren't just buying gold, they're moving it. And in doing so, they might just be redrawing the entire financial map of the world.
So what's going on here? Why the big move? Why are they packing up their gold bars and shipping them across the globe? Well, the answer really gets at a growing nervousness about the future of our entire financial system.
And let's be super clear. This isn't about people simply buying more gold. The crucial part, the detail that changes everything, is where that gold is ending up. We're seeing this huge strategic pivot away from the traditional old-school vaults in London and Geneva and toward these brand-new high-tech fortresses in the East.
To really get why this is happening, we need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. We're living in a pretty wild time, right? An age of geopolitical tension, economic wobbles, and all of that is starting to chip away at the trust we've had for decades in our traditional financial systems.
This slide pretty much sums up what's keeping investors up at night. You've got conflicts bubbling up all over, economies that feel like they're on shaky ground, and that nagging memory of 2008, which taught everyone a brutal lesson. Even the biggest banks can fail. In a world that feels this unstable, people are desperately looking for something solid, something tangible. And at the very heart of all this anxiety is a fancy-sounding financial term, counterparty risk. It sounds complicated, but it's not, I promise. It's just the risk that the person or bank on the other end of your deal won't be able to make good on their promise. It's why some people would much rather own a heavy gold bar than a piece of paper, an ETF, that just says they own gold. Here's a simple way to think about it. It's like lending money to a friend. You trust they'll pay you back. But what happens when that friend is a gigantic global bank? After 2008, we all know that even the friends we thought were too big to fail, well, they can. And they can leave you with nothing.
This quote just nails the feeling perfectly. When things get shaky, you start looking at the numbers on your computer screen and wondering, are those even real? A physical gold bar, on the other hand, that takes away all the counterparty risk. It's not a promise of wealth. It is the wealth, right there in front of you.
So if you're worried about all this, and you want to hold physical gold, where on earth do you put it? Well, for a growing number of the world's elite, the answer, more and more, is Singapore.
And Singapore's appeal really boils down to this incredible triple lock of security. First, it's politically neutral. It pretty much stays out of global squabbles. Second, its whole economy is built on trust, so it has zero reason to ever mess with private property. And third, it's a very secure and well-defended country. That combo makes it the perfect place to park your wealth for generations.
And this right here is the absolute key. It all comes down to incentives. Singapore's reputation as a safe, trusted global hub is its economy. For them to ever seize private assets wouldn't just be bad, it would be economic suicide. And that fact, that alignment of interests, is the ultimate insurance policy for investors.
Okay, so we've talked about the why. Now let's get to the fun part, the how. We're going to take a peek inside a brand new, state-of-the-art facility called The Reserve, a place designed for basically ultimate security. Now, this is not just some big warehouse. It was just completed in 2024, right near Singapore's main airport. And its foundation goes 32 meters straight down into the ground. That's over 100 feet deep, like a 10-story building, but underground, all engineered to hold an absolutely unimaginable amount of weight.
And get this, to give you an idea of the engineering here, the floors are 45 times stronger than what you'd find in a normal parking garage. This place was built from the ground up with one purpose: to hold insane amounts of value. The scale here is just mind-boggling. A single chamber inside the reserve can store up to 10,000 tons of silver. At today's prices, that's worth around $16 billion. And if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear the numbers for gold. The main vault can hold 500 tons of it. The value? A staggering $64 billion. Now, I know what you're thinking. Laser grids, pressure plates, all that Hollywood high stuff, right? But real high-level security is actually a lot less dramatic. It's all about layers of defense. The goal is pretty simple: meet standards like the UL Class 2, which just means the vault can stop a professional team with tools from getting in for at least 1 hour. That's more than enough time for the cavalry to arrive.
And you can see exactly why they need this kind of security when you look at the value packed into these things.
A single good delivery bar, the kind central banks trade, is worth about $1.6 million. Even the smaller bars for regular investors are worth over $100,000 each. It's an incredible amount of money in a very, very small package. So all of this whole trend, it really points to something much bigger than just a few new fancy vaults. We could be looking at a fundamental redrawing of the world's wealth map, and that has huge implications for the future of finance.
To be clear, London is still the undisputed king of the gold trade. I mean, they're handling over $100 billion a day. Singapore is less than 1% of that. But, and this is the crucial difference, this story isn't about trading paper promises back and forth. It's about the physical storage of long-term wealth, and in that physical game, Singapore's potential for growth is just enormous.
And you know, Singapore isn't alone in this. It's part of a much bigger trend. You see hubs like Hong Kong and Dubai also making big plays, with their governments actively building the infrastructure to attract the world's physical assets. And it's not just private money. The central banks in these regions are also buying up gold like crazy, creating this whole new axis of wealth in the East. Which all leads us to one final fascinating question. As all this physical wealth flows from the West to the East, are we just watching a quirky trend for the ultra-rich? Or are we actually witnessing the early signs of a massive, fundamental shift, the very beginning of a new global financial order?